A Portrait of the Artist as a Young Man, by James Joyce. About the author. James Joyce was an Irish writer known for his groundbreaking contributions to modernist literature. His works are characterized by innovative narrative techniques, complex language, and exploration of the inner lives of his characters. Joyce's major works include A Portrait of the Artist as a Young Man, Dubliners, Ulysses, and Finnegan's Wake. Joyce's first major work, Dubliners, is a collection of short stories that portrays the lives of ordinary people in Dublin. The stories are notable for their realism and exploration of epiphanies. Ulysses is considered one of the greatest works of modernist literature. The novel follows the experiences of Leopold Bloom during a single day in Dublin. It is known for its stream of consciousness narrative style, intricate structure, and literary allusions. Finnegan's Wake is known for its dense, experimental language and nonlinear narrative. It remains one of the most challenging works in the English language. Joyce's work has had a profound impact on modern literature, influencing writers such as Samuel Beckett, Virginia Woolf, and William Faulkner. Joyce is known for his use of stream of consciousness, intricate narrative structures, and experimental language. His works challenge conventional storytelling and explore the complexities of human consciousness. Joyce's exploration of Irish identity, history, and culture has made him an enduring figure in Irish literature and beyond. James Joyce's contributions to literature have made him one of the most influential writers of the 20th century. His works continue to be studied and celebrated for their depth, complexity, and innovative style. Significance of the title. A Portrait of the Artist as a Young Man, holds significant literary, cultural, and historical importance for several reasons. The novel is a pioneering work of modernist literature, employing innovative narrative techniques such as stream of consciousness, interior monologue, and nonlinear storytelling. These techniques allow for a deep exploration of the protagonist's inner life and set the stage for future modernist works. Joyce's use of evolving language and style, from the simplicity of Stephen's childhood perceptions to the complex thoughts of his young adulthood, mirrors the protagonist's development and showcases Joyce's mastery of language and narrative form. Joyce's novel has had a profound influence on subsequent generations of writers, both in terms of narrative style and thematic depth. Many authors have drawn inspiration from Joyce's approach to exploring the complexities of human consciousness and identity. The novel is one of the early examples of the use of stream of consciousness in literature, a technique that would become central to modernist fiction and influence writers such as Virginia Woolf and William Faulkner. The novel offers a nuanced portrayal of Irish life in the late 19th and early 20th centuries. It explores the complexities of Irish identity, including the impact of colonialism, the struggle for independence, and the influence of the Catholic Church. Through Stephen's journey, Joyce critiques the constraints of nationalism and religion, highlighting the tension between personal freedom and societal expectations. This critique has resonated with readers worldwide. The novel captures the struggles and aspirations of a generation of Irish youth, dealing with the tension between tradition and modernity, and the search for personal identity in a rapidly changing world. Joyce's novel contains many autobiographical elements, reflecting his own experiences growing up in Ireland. This personal connection adds depth and authenticity to the narrative, making it a valuable historical document of the period. The novel established Joyce as a major literary figure and set the stage for his later masterpieces, such as Ulysses and Finnegan's Wake. It contributed to the literary landscape of the 20th century and continues to be studied and appreciated today. A Portrait of the Artist as a Young Man is a cornerstone of Irish literature, showcasing the richness and complexity of Irish culture and history. It helped elevate Irish literature on the global stage and pave the way for other Irish writers to gain international recognition. In summary, A Portrait of the Artist as a Young Man is a seminal work of modernist literature that holds significant cultural and historical value. It explores themes of identity, artistry, and the human experience in a way that has made a lasting impact on literature and continues to resonate with readers worldwide. Summary of the novel: A Portrait of the Artist as a Young Man. A Portrait of the Artist as a Young Man follows the life of Stephen Dedalus from his early childhood to his early adulthood. It is a coming-of-age story that explores Stephen's journey of self-discovery as he grapples with questions of identity, spirituality, and artistry. The novel opens with a scene from Stephen's childhood, marked by the simplicity and disjointedness of a child's perception of the world. Stephen lives in a Dublin suburb with his parents and siblings. Stephen's family is initially portrayed as relatively stable, but financial difficulties and his father's lack of responsibility gradually impact the family. These challenges affect Stephen's sense of security and self-worth. Stephen is sent to Clongowes Wood College, a strict Jesuit boarding school. He experiences bullying and unfair punishment from his peers and teachers, which exposes him to the harsh realities of the world outside his family. Stephen returns home and eventually attends Belvedere College, another Jesuit school. Here, he undergoes a profound religious awakening, marked by guilt and fear. This period influences his perception of sin and redemption. As Stephen navigates his adolescence, he struggles with the strictures of his religious education and the temptations of the secular world, such as sexual desire. His internal conflicts lead him to a state of spiritual crisis. Stephen's crisis deepens as he questions his faith and the rigid doctrines imposed upon him. His intense introspection leads him to distance himself from his religious upbringing. Stephen's emerging artistic vision becomes increasingly important to him. He resolves to pursue a life as an artist and intellectual, rejecting the traditional path expected of him. Stephen enrolls in University College Dublin, where he continues to develop his artistic sensibilities. He forms new friendships and immerses himself in literature and philosophy. Stephen's journey towards self-discovery involves rebellion against established norms, including his family's expectations, religious authority, and societal conventions. The novel concludes with Stephen's decision to leave Ireland and pursue his artistic calling abroad. He recognizes the need to forge his own path and liberate himself from the influences that have shaped him. In sum, A Portrait of the Artist as a Young Man is a deeply introspective novel that traces Stephen's intellectual, spiritual, and artistic growth. It showcases his quest for individuality and authenticity as he navigates the complexities of his environment and ultimately chooses to embrace his role as an artist. Critical analysis of the novel: A Portrait of the Artist as a Young Man. A Portrait of the Artist as a Young Man is a seminal modernist novel by Irish writer James Joyce. Published in 1916, it is a coming-of-age narrative that follows the intellectual and spiritual journey of its protagonist, Stephen Dedalus, as he grows up in Ireland and seeks to establish his own identity and artistic vision. Joyce employs a stream of consciousness narrative style, allowing readers to closely follow Stephen's thoughts and perceptions. This technique provides insight into Stephen's internal struggles and evolving sense of self. Joyce uses rich symbolism and imagery throughout the novel, particularly in the recurring motifs of water, flight, and birds. These symbols represent Stephen's desire for freedom and his journey towards artistic independence. The novel's language evolves with Stephen's development, starting with simpler language in his early years and becoming more complex and sophisticated as he matures. This change in style mirrors Stephen's growth as an artist. A Portrait of the Artist as a Young Man is considered one of the most important works of modernist literature. Its innovative narrative techniques and exploration of complex themes set the stage for other modernist works. The novel's use of stream of consciousness and its focus on the inner life of the protagonist have had a lasting impact on literature, influencing many writers who followed. The novel contains many autobiographical elements, drawing from Joyce's own experiences growing up in Dublin. This personal connection adds depth and authenticity to the narrative. The novel traces Stephen's journey from boyhood to young adulthood as he seeks to establish his own identity separate from the expectations of his family, religion, and nation. This journey is a quest for self-discovery and authenticity. Religion plays a central role in Stephen's upbringing and is a significant influence on his thoughts and actions. The novel explores the tension between religious devotion and artistic freedom, culminating in Stephen's rejection of the constraints of Catholicism. The novel is set against the backdrop of Irish nationalism and the struggle for independence from British rule. Stephen grapples with his relationship to his Irish identity and the expectations placed on him as a young Irishman. Stephen's development as an artist is a central theme. The novel explores the tension between art and life, and Stephen's eventual embrace of art as his calling. A Portrait of the Artist as a Young Man, by James Joyce, is set in the social and political context of late 19th century and early 20th century Ireland. The novel explores themes related to Irish nationalism, colonialism, and the influence of the Catholic Church on Irish society. Additionally, Joyce's use of language in the novel is innovative and plays a key role in conveying the protagonist Stephen Dedalus's inner world. The novel takes place during a time of growing Irish nationalism and the struggle for independence from British rule. This political backdrop influences Stephen Dedalus's views on identity and belonging. Stephen grapples with his Irish identity and the pressures of nationalism. He often feels alienated from the fervor of Irish patriotism and struggles to reconcile his artistic aspirations with nationalistic sentiments. The effects of British colonial rule are evident in the novel, particularly in the influence of the English language and educational systems. Stephen's education is heavily influenced by British cultural and literary traditions, which he eventually seeks to distance himself from in pursuit of his own artistic voice. The Catholic Church plays a central role in Irish society and Stephen's life. He is raised in a devoutly Catholic family and attends Catholic schools. Stephen's struggle with religious doctrine and the Church's influence on his life is a key aspect of his journey toward self-discovery and artistic independence. The novel explores the complexity of Irish cultural identity, particularly in terms of language, religion, and political allegiances. Stephen's desire to break free from the constraints of his cultural background is a central theme in his quest for artistic freedom. Joyce employs a stream of consciousness narrative style to capture Stephen's thoughts and emotions as he experiences them. This approach immerses the reader in Stephen's inner world. The language of the novel evolves as Stephen matures, reflecting his intellectual and emotional growth. The prose becomes more sophisticated and complex as Stephen's understanding of the world deepens. Joyce uses vivid imagery and symbolism throughout the novel to convey Stephen's experiences and perceptions. This includes recurring motifs such as water and birds, which represent themes of transformation and freedom. While the novel is written in English, Joyce incorporates Irish dialect and phrases, as well as other languages e.g., Latin and French to capture the cultural richness of Stephen's environment. Joyce's use of language is playful and experimental, reflecting Stephen's artistic development and his desire to express himself authentically. Joyce's use of language and narrative techniques, such as nonlinear storytelling and interior monologue, challenges traditional literary conventions and marks the novel as a key work of modernist literature. In summary, A Portrait of the Artist as a Young Man is deeply rooted in the social and political context of Ireland, exploring themes of nationalism, colonial influence, and the role of the Catholic Church. Joyce's innovative use of language and narrative style enhances the novel's portrayal of Stephen Daedalus's journey of self-discovery and artistic growth. Themes. A Portrait of the Artist as a Young Man explores several key themes through the journey of its protagonist, Stephen Daedalus. These themes include identity and individuality, religion and spirituality, nationalism and cultural identity, and artistic vision and creation. Identity and individuality. Stephen's journey is fundamentally one of self-discovery. He struggles to find his own voice and identity amidst the various influences in his life, including family, religion, and society. Stephen's desire for individuality leads him to reject the expectations placed on him by his family, particularly his mother's devout Catholicism and his father's traditional values. Stephen's internal monologue and stream of consciousness narrative provide insight into his ongoing search for identity and his efforts to understand himself. Religion and spirituality. Stephen's upbringing in a strict Catholic environment shapes his early worldview. The novel explores his struggle with religious doctrine and the guilt and fear instilled by the Church. As Stephen matures, he experiences a crisis of faith, questioning the strictures of Catholicism and the impact of religious belief on his personal freedom. Ultimately, Stephen decides to break away from the dogma of the Church to pursue his own artistic and intellectual freedom. Nationalism and cultural identity. The novel is set against the backdrop of Ireland's struggle for independence from British rule. This political context influences Stephen's sense of national identity. Stephen grapples with the question of whether to embrace his Irish heritage or to see himself as a citizen of the world. This tension is a recurring theme in the novel. Stephen's journey includes a critique of nationalist sentiment, particularly its impact on personal and artistic freedom. He ultimately chooses to forge his own path rather than conforming to national expectations. Artistic vision and creation. Stephen's journey is one of artistic growth and self-discovery. He evolves from a confused and impressionable boy to a confident young man with a clear artistic vision. Stephen grapples with the conflict between his artistic ambitions and the realities of his life, including societal expectations and personal relationships. By the end of the novel, Stephen resolves to pursue his calling as an artist, embracing the freedom and independence that come with it. Stephen's development as an artist is intertwined with his search for identity. Art becomes the medium through which he expresses his true self. In summary, A Portrait of the Artist as a Young Man explores themes of identity, religion, nationalism, and artistic vision through the lens of Stephen Dedalus's journey from childhood to adulthood. The novel captures his struggles and triumphs as he seeks to define himself in a world filled with competing influences. Characterization. A Portrait of the Artist as a Young Man features a range of characters who play significant roles in the life and development of its protagonist, Stephen Dedalus. Here are detailed explanations of the main characters in the novel. Stephen Dedalus. Stephen is the central character of the novel. He is an introspective and sensitive young man who undergoes a journey of self-discovery and artistic development. Stephen's quest for identity and his struggle to reconcile his personal beliefs with societal expectations are central to the novel's themes. As the novel progresses, Stephen matures from a boy influenced by his family's beliefs and the teachings of the Catholic Church to a young man who seeks independence and artistic freedom. His experiences in school, university, and Dublin shape his worldview. Stephen's passion for literature and poetry becomes a driving force in his life. He seeks to break free from the constraints of tradition and establish his own artistic vision. Simon Dedalus. Simon is a complex character who is affectionate towards Stephen but also irresponsible with money. His financial troubles and carefree attitude cause instability in the family, impacting Stephen's upbringing. Simon's attitudes toward politics and his nostalgia for the past influence Stephen's perception of Irish identity. Stephen also learns from his father's flaws, shaping his desire to be different. Mary Dedalus. Mary is a devout Catholic and places significant emphasis on religious upbringing. She represents the religious expectations imposed on Stephen, which he ultimately seeks to reject. Mary and Stephen have a strained relationship due to his rejection of her religious values. This tension reflects the broader conflict between individual desires and familial expectations. Emma Cleary. Emma is a young woman with whom Stephen becomes infatuated. She serves as his muse and is a recurring figure in his thoughts and writings. Stephen's romantic feelings for Emma represent his idealization of beauty and love. His complex relationship with her underscores his internal conflicts regarding sexuality and purity. Father Arnall. Father Arnall is one of Stephen's teachers at Clongowes Wood College. He delivers a series of sermons that have a profound impact on Stephen's understanding of sin and redemption. Father Arnall's teachings contribute to Stephen's intense religious awakening, causing him to grapple with guilt and fear. This experience influences Stephen's views on religion and morality. Cranley. Cranley is a fellow student and one of Stephen's closest friends during his time at university. He serves as a confidant and sounding board for Stephen's thoughts and ideas. Cranley provides a practical perspective and challenges Stephen's ideas, pushing him to articulate his beliefs more clearly. Their friendship helps Stephen navigate the complexities of his artistic and philosophical journey. Dante. Mrs. Reardon, Stephen's governess, who is a fervent supporter of Irish nationalism and Catholicism. She represents the traditional values that Stephen eventually rejects. Heron and Boland. Stephen's schoolmates who criticize his artistic aspirations and question his loyalty to Irish nationalism. Their opposition highlights the societal pressures Stephen faces. In summary, the characters in A Portrait of the Artist as a Young Man contribute to Stephen Dedalus's journey of self-discovery and artistic development. Each character plays a role in shaping Stephen's worldview and influencing his decisions as he seeks to define himself. Q. 1. Who is Baby Tuckoo in A Portrait of the Artist as a Young Man? Ans. In A Portrait of the Artist as a Young Man, the term Baby Tuckoo is a phrase used to refer to the protagonist, Stephen Dedalus, when he is a young child. The novel begins with a stream of consciousness passage that introduces Stephen's early experiences and perceptions. The passage includes the phrase, "Once upon a time and a very good time there was a moo cow coming down along the road, and this moo cow that was coming down along the road met a nice's little boy named Baby Tuckoo." This phrase is part of the playful, childlike language and fragmented narrative style used to convey Stephen's early memories and experiences. It suggests Stephen's youthful innocence and the way he perceives himself and the world around him at that stage of his life. The phrase is an example of Joyce's innovative use of language and narrative technique to immerse the reader in Stephen's perspective as a child. Q. 2. How does the title A Portrait of the Artist as a Young Man relate to Stephen Dedalus' evolution? Ans. The title, A Portrait of the Artist as a Young Man, is closely related to the evolution of Stephen Dedalus, the novel's protagonist. The title suggests that the novel is an artistic depiction or portrait of a young man who is in the process of becoming an artist. This theme is central to the narrative and is reflected in Stephen's journey of self-discovery and artistic development. The novel follows Stephen's growth from childhood to young adulthood, focusing on his intellectual and artistic maturation. As he navigates the complexities of life, he gradually becomes aware of his desire to pursue a life dedicated to art. The novel serves as a portrait of Stephen's quest to understand himself and define his identity. He struggles with questions of faith, nationalism, and personal autonomy, all of which shape his artistic sensibilities. As Stephen matures, he begins to articulate his artistic vision and philosophy. The novel explores his evolving relationship with language, literature, and art as he seeks to express his unique perspective. The novel portrays Stephen's rejection of traditional paths in favor of his artistic calling. He distances himself from the expectations of his family, religion, and society to pursue his vision of becoming an artist. The title underscores the idea that the novel is a depiction of Stephen's growth into an artist. Through the narrative, Joyce presents a detailed and nuanced portrait of the young man's experiences, thoughts, and struggles as he forges his own path. The title highlights the young man's journey of becoming an artist, suggesting a focus on the formative years of his life when he is developing his identity and artistic voice. In summary, the title, A Portrait of the Artist as a Young Man, encapsulates the core narrative of the novel, the evolution of Stephen Dedalus from a boy influenced by external forces to a young man who embraces his role as an artist and seeks to create his own identity. The novel offers a deep exploration of his transformation and the challenges he faces along the way. Q3. How is sexuality portrayed in a portrait of the artist as a young man? Ans. Sexuality is a significant theme in a portrait of the artist as a young man, as it plays a central role in Stephen Dedalus's journey of self-discovery and his struggle with societal and religious expectations. The novel presents Stephen's evolving understanding of his sexuality and his attempts to reconcile it with his artistic aspirations and spiritual beliefs. Stephen's early experiences with sexuality are portrayed as confusing and contradictory. He is exposed to sexual imagery and experiences through his peers, but he does not fully understand them. Stephen's Catholic upbringing instills in him a sense of guilt and shame around sexual thoughts and desires. He grapples with the tension between his natural impulses and the strict moral code he has been taught. One of the pivotal moments in Stephen's sexual awakening occurs when he visits a prostitute. This experience is portrayed as both liberating and troubling for Stephen, as it marks a departure from his religious upbringing and an exploration of his desires. Stephen's sexual desires often conflict with his artistic aspirations and his sense of morality. He feels drawn to beauty and sensuality, but he also struggles with the fear of sin and damnation. Stephen's experiences with sexuality, including his infatuation with Emma Cleary, inspire him artistically. He begins to see the connection between beauty, love, and artistic creation. As Stephen matures, he learns to integrate his sexuality into his broader understanding of himself as an artist. He begins to embrace his desires as part of his human experience and his artistic vision. Throughout the novel, Stephen rejects the constraints placed on his sexuality by religion and society. He seeks to define his own identity and artistic vision, free from external limitations. The novel presents sexuality as a complex and multifaceted aspect of human experience. Stephen's journey reflects the struggles and contradictions many young people face when navigating their sexual identity. In summary, sexuality is portrayed as a fundamental part of Stephen's journey in a portrait of the artist as a young man. It serves as both a source of conflict and inspiration for him, shaping his development as an individual and an artist. Through his experiences, the novel explores the challenges of reconciling natural desires with societal expectations and religious beliefs. Q. 4. What does stream of consciousness mean in A Portrait of the Artist as a Young Man? Is A Portrait of the Artist as a Young Man a stream of consciousness novel? Ann's stream of consciousness is a narrative technique that attempts to depict the flow of thoughts, feelings, and perceptions in the minds of characters as they experience them. This style of writing seeks to mimic the natural, often nonlinear progression of consciousness. In A Portrait of the Artist as a Young Man, James Joyce employs this technique, but not as fully as he does in his later works such as Ulysses and Finnegan's Wake. Joyce uses evolving language to capture the progression of Stephen's thoughts and experiences at different stages of his life. As Stephen matures, the language and narrative style become more complex, reflecting his intellectual growth. The novel begins with fragmented, disjointed scenes from Stephen's early childhood, capturing his perception of the world in a childlike manner. This style continues throughout the novel, portraying his internal thoughts and emotions. Much of the novel is presented through Stephen's interior monologue, providing direct access to his thoughts, feelings, and sensory experiences. This narrative approach immerses the reader in Stephen's consciousness. Although the novel follows a chronological structure overall, there are moments of nonlinear storytelling that reflect the natural progression of Stephen's thoughts and memories. Joyce uses vivid and symbolic imagery to convey Stephen's inner world, including his dreams, fantasies, and associations. This technique enhances the stream of consciousness style. A Portrait of the Artist as a Young Man is often considered a precursor to the full stream of consciousness technique seen in Joyce's later works. While the novel incorporates aspects of the technique, it also maintains a more traditional narrative structure compared to later modernist works. The novel represents a transition from traditional 19th-century narrative styles to modernist techniques, including stream of consciousness. This makes it a significant work in the evolution of literary style. In summary, while A Portrait of the Artist as a Young Man contains elements of the stream of consciousness technique, it is not a pure example of the style. Instead, it blends traditional narrative methods with modernist innovations, paving the way for Joyce's later masterpieces and contributing to the development of modernist literature. Q. 5. What are the implications of Stephen's invocation at the end of A Portrait of the Artist as a Young Man? Ann's. At the end of A Portrait of the Artist as a Young Man, Stephen Dedalus makes an invocation in the form of a declaration of his intention to leave Ireland and pursue a life dedicated to art and creativity. This moment is significant for several reasons and has important implications for both Stephen's character and the novel's themes. Stephen's invocation signifies his desire to break free from the constraints of his upbringing, including the influence of his family, religion, and nationalist sentiment. By choosing to leave Ireland, Stephen is asserting his independence and his intention to forge his own path, free from societal expectations and limitations. Stephen's declaration demonstrates his commitment to a life devoted to art. He sees himself as an artist and is willing to leave behind his familiar surroundings to pursue his artistic vision. His decision reflects his belief that true artistic expression requires autonomy and the ability to explore new ideas and experiences. Stephen's invocation represents his rejection of conventional paths and roles. He turns away from a traditional life in favor of a more uncertain but fulfilling journey as an artist. This decision is emblematic of the modernist themes in the novel, such as the struggle between individualism and conformity. By leaving Ireland, Stephen is embracing the journey of self-discovery that will continue beyond the novel's conclusion. He seeks new experiences and opportunities to develop his identity and artistic vision. This decision is a culmination of his quest to understand himself and his place in the world. Stephen's departure from Ireland is symbolic of his departure from the past, including the religious and cultural influences that have shaped him. It also represents a broader departure from tradition and the search for new horizons and perspectives. Stephen's journey continues in James Joyce's later work, Ulysses, where he remains committed to his artistic vision and pursuit of self-discovery. The invocation at the end of the novel serves as a bridge to Stephen's future adventures and challenges as an artist. In summary, Stephen's invocation at the end of A Portrait of the Artist as a Young Man is a powerful declaration of his intention to pursue a life of artistic freedom and self-discovery. It marks a turning point in his life and a definitive break from the past, setting the stage for his future journey as an artist. Q. 6. What is James Joyce's definition of epiphany? Ans. James Joyce's definition of epiphany is a significant concept in his literary works and has become an influential term in modern literature. In Joyce's context, an epiphany refers to a moment of sudden revelation or insight, where a character experiences a profound realization about themselves or their surroundings. This moment is often triggered by an ordinary event, situation, or detail that seems mundane at first but leads to a deep, often transformative understanding. An epiphany is a moment where a character gains a sudden, deep understanding of something significant in their life or the world around them. The insight is usually triggered by a seemingly ordinary event, detail, or observation. This contrast between the mundane and the profound is a hallmark of Joyce's epiphanies. The moment of epiphany often reveals hidden truths about a character's emotions, desires, or motivations. It may also expose the underlying realities of a social or cultural context. The realization during an epiphany can lead to a shift in a character's perspective or behavior, potentially influencing their decisions and actions. Epiphanies are highly personal and subjective experiences, reflecting the inner thoughts and feelings of the character experiencing them. In A Portrait of the Artist as a Young Man, Stephen Dedalus experiences moments of epiphany throughout the novel, such as his realization about the beauty and potential of art during a school retreat, and his decision to pursue a life dedicated to artistic creation. In Dubliners, Joyce uses epiphanies in several stories to highlight key moments of realization for his characters, such as in Araby and Evelyn, where the protagonists come to a deep understanding about their desires and the limitations of their surroundings. Joyce's use of epiphany adds depth and complexity to his characters and narratives. It allows him to explore the inner lives of his characters and their interactions with the world around them, creating rich, multi-layered storytelling. The concept of epiphany has since become a staple in modernist literature and continues to influence writers today. Q. 7. What attracts Stephen to the priesthood and why does he reject it? How does his vocation as an artist compare to that of a priest? Ans. In a portrait of the artist as a young man, Stephen Dedalus is initially attracted to the priesthood for several reasons, but he ultimately rejects it in favor of pursuing a life as an artist. His decision is influenced by the contrast between the paths of priesthood and artistic vocation, and his desire for personal and artistic freedom. Stephen's strict Catholic upbringing and education expose him to the importance and reverence of the priesthood in his community. At one point in the novel, Stephen experiences a crisis of faith, triggered by sermons on sin and damnation. This crisis leads him to consider the priesthood as a path to moral and spiritual purity. The priesthood offers a disciplined and structured life, with opportunities for intellectual study and contemplation, which appeal to Stephen. The role of a priest carries with it a certain level of prestige and authority within the Catholic community, which may initially attract Stephen. Stephen realizes that the priesthood would require him to conform to strict religious dogma and traditions, limiting his personal and intellectual freedom. The celibacy and self-denial associated with the priesthood would conflict with Stephen's desire to explore human experiences and emotions, which are essential to his artistic vision. Stephen's growing realization that he is an artist at heart leads him to seek a different path that allows him to express his creativity and pursue his own vision. Stephen's recognition of the beauty and richness of life, including sensual experiences, is incompatible with the ascetic lifestyle of a priest. While the priesthood focuses on spiritual guidance and serving others, the artistic vocation emphasizes personal expression and the creation of beauty. A priest's role is often tied to the community and its religious and moral values, while an artist may choose to distance themselves from societal expectations to pursue their own vision. The priesthood involves adherence to religious doctrine and a structured lifestyle, while being an artist offers more freedom and the ability to explore and question different aspects of life. For Stephen, the priesthood represents a potential source of spiritual fulfillment, but art provides him with a means of expressing his innermost thoughts and emotions. In summary, Stephen's attraction to the priesthood stems from his religious upbringing and the moral and intellectual aspects of the role. However, he ultimately rejects it in favor of pursuing a life dedicated to art, which offers him greater personal freedom, the opportunity to express his creativity, and a path that aligns more closely with his true self.